Good evening and welcome to the Screencast. Tonight I'm going to solve some of the problems you're going to see on the quiz on Study Guides 1 and 2. So let's get to it. Alright, in the first problem here I have addition and subtraction of polynomials problem. So the first thing I'm going to do, since I am subtracting one of them, I'm going to change that minus sign to a plus and then reverse each sign that is inside the next set of parentheses. Once I do that, I'm simply ready to combine like terms to find my solution. So the first word in tonight's secret sentence is how. Alright, so I'm going to start with the term with the largest exponent for the variable, and that would be x4. So let's see, I have a 6, a -2, and a 5. So 6 minus 2 is 4. 4 plus 5 is 9. So I have 9x to the 4th. Now let me look at the x to the 3rd power. Alright, looks like I have two terms with x to the 3rd, a -7 and a +8. That gives me 1x to the 3rd. Now I'm going to move on to the x squared terms. I have let's see, is that the only one? No, I have an x squared term and a negative x squared term. Those cancel out and give me 0. Then I'm going to move on to the x term. I have a 3x, and that's the only x term. And then lastly, I have a 2. So now I've finished combining all like terms, and I have my solution, or my sum, and that's what it is. Alright, the next problem, few problems are polynomial multiplication. So the first one's pretty easy. All I have to do is distribute. So I'm going to multiply everything by 2, and I'm going to get 18n squared minus 16n minus 12, and oops, not to be highlighting there, and I'm all set. That's my product. Alright, in number 3 I'm actually I have a binomial times a times another binomial, and in that case I'm going to FOIL. So let me do the first, outer, inner, lasts. So the first give me 4a times 5a, or 20a squared. The outers give me 4a times -6, or -24a. The inners give me -10a, and the lasts give me 12. And then when I combine like terms, I get 20a squared minus 34a plus 12. And I'm all set. Okay, now let me do, I think the next problem, it's a slightly longer problem with multiplication, and the second word in tonight's sentence is the word now. Okay, so when I have a binomial times a trinomial, what I usually do, or what I always do for that matter, is write the binomial under the trinomial. Okay, I eliminate it there, and now I do a form of long multiplication. So -5, start with a -5, multiply it by 7, that gives me -35. Then I do -5 times v, that gives me -5v. -5 times 6v squared is -30v squared. Now I move on to 5v. So 5v times 7 gives me 35v. 5v times v is 5v squared. And 5v times 6v squared is 30v cubed. Alright, now I add downward. I get 30v cubed minus 25v squared plus 30v minus 35. And I got those sums just by combining like terms when I added downward. And I'm all set, and that's my product. Okay, now I have two synthetic division problems. So I always start by drawing my synthetic division symbol. I take whatever number that is, I reverse its sign, and then I write the coefficients of the polynomial, the dividend, or what I'm trying to divide, right there. And then I always start by bringing down the first term. So the first term is 1, so I multiply it by -6. That goes in the next free spot. Then I add downward. So that's going to give me -1. I multiply that by -6. That gives me 6. Then I'm going to add downward. That's going to give me -8. And then I'm going to multiply by -6. That's going to give me positive 48. Caught myself. Then I'm going to add downward. That gives me -2. Then I multiply again by -6. I get 12, and I add downward, and I get 0. So this one has a remainder of 0. The last number in the quotient set of digits is always the remainder. That would mean the -2 is the constant, -8 is the coefficient of the x term, -1 is the coefficient of the x squared term, so I'm just going to write that as -x squared. And lastly, this one right there is the coefficient of the x cubed term. So that's going to be a 1. And since I don't have a remainder, I don't have to write anything other than that. The next one, let's see, I think there is a remainder if I'm not mistaken, if I can find the problem. Let's see, is it on the second page? Yes, it is. Actually, I'm just going to skip this problem because it's one that isn't going to work well with synthetic division because of that 8 there, and I didn't realize that I put that in my list of problems to do. So just going back to this problem, if there had been a remainder there where that 0 occurs, like let's say this number had been a 7 for whatever reason, okay, then I would have written plus 7 over x plus 6, and x plus 6 is what you're dividing by originally. Okay, the third word into Knight's secret phrase slash sentence is brown. Alright, so we have how now brown so far. Okay, and lastly I have 2 long addition subtraction problems. Okay, so -308.6 minus a -883.7. Alright, well, minus a negative is the same thing as adding. So now I really have this. -308.6 plus 883.7. Okay, I have 2 numbers with opposite signs, so I'm always going to subtract the smaller value from the larger one, and then I'm going to use the sign of the bigger value in my answer. So I'm going to write what I'm subtracting underneath the other number, and I go through and bring the decimal down. I always line up the decimal points, and I do 7 minus 6 is 1. 3 minus 8, can't do that, have to borrow a 1. So I get 13 minus 8 is 5, 7 minus 0 is 7, and 8 minus 3 is 5. Now I'm going to use the sign of the larger value of the 2 numbers that I started with, which is of course 883.7, and that has a positive sign, so that means my answer is going to be positive 575.1. Alright, and then in the last one here, once again this is going to turn into addition. 2 negative signs make a positive, so I end up with that. So I'm going to line up the decimals, put a decimal down below, add 9 and 1, I get a 0, carry a 1, 1 and 3 is 4, 4 and 2 is 6, 5 plus 3 is 8, and 7 plus 6 is 13. And so I get 1386.0. Both of those were positive numbers, so I'm going to get a positive number as my sum. And the final word in tonight's phrase, as you may have guessed, is the word cow. Alright, I hope somebody watched this, and whoever watched it found it helpful. I will try to make a few more, usually maybe one a week or every 2 weeks the rest of the school year. Get a good night's sleep. Don't forget to email me the secret sentence, or you can go to mrhayden.net and submit a contact me form as well. Alright, have a good night, and we'll see you either tomorrow or on Monday. Cheers.